Amateur making, amateur making, woo! This is just a quick one, no intro on this, to just show the difference. There's the original pumpkin head made of air drying clay, and there's the new one made of balsa wood. So I made two pieces, hollowed them, glued them together, and popped a nose and some eyes on. It's much bigger, but I'm much happier with the shape, and it's going to be much easier to stick the mouth shapes on. So I used the Dremel tool. There's a little carving tool that you can use. I did a lot of sanding, so remember, if you're sanding or using a Dremel type tool, you might get loads of sawdust, so make sure you wear a mask. So this is the newer version, and I'm much happier with how light it is. It's got a hole at the bottom to attach it to the armature, and it's got a hole at the top to put the little stem on. So that's the new one, and I'm going to show you me painting it. So I'm all set up to paint. I like these Liquitex inks to paint with, but I was actually going to originally use watercolour, and you can buy really cheap sets of acrylic paint and use those as well. But I like the brightness of these inks, and I like how they blend in together. So I'm just going to do a basic brush because the underlying colour, I want it to be yellow. Just sped this bit up now, so it's going to go super fast because you don't want to watch someone painting for ages. So hopefully this should be better. So I'm like adding water to it to get it all around. And even though you're probably just going to see the front of this puppet, I do like to make sure that they work as a object all the way around. So bear that in mind. Make sure that it looks good all the way around, because what you might do is, if you go to a job interview and people are like, can you show me stuff you've made in animation, you might well want to take a puppet along, because it's always an impressive thing to show and to have made. So I feel like it's getting a little bit too watery, so I'm going to add a wee bit more, and then I'm adding a little bit of, I want to start to kind of like make it more of an orangey colour here. So you can see I'm putting wash on after wash. I will say, in terms of like how I work as an artist, I like to build up. So I like to start with a small amount and then build and build, which I've noticed in the next part of the armature building, that if you use sponge, you add a lot and then trim down. And I don't like doing that as much, and I think it's because I like to add. So I like to do small thin layers of wadding and keep adding them until I get it right. And that's interesting, because if I was to be a marble sculptor, I wouldn't be able to do it because I wouldn't be able to figure out how much to take off. So when I did sculpture, I used plaster, and I could just keep adding layers of plaster on and putting some red in the eyes. What I did was I went back later and I had to put a little bit of darkness in the eyes, because the red in the eyes just kind of sank into the wood, which does happen when you're painting wood. You'll see as well that I get to a certain point on this, but the actual finished item is slightly different, because I did have to go over it a little bit, because the ink kind of fades into the wood a bit because it's water. So that happened, and I wanted the colours to stand out a wee bit more, so I did do another layer. Then added a wee bit darkness to it so it matched the zombie. The zombie I'm going to be painting onto fabric, so it's going to look slightly different anyway. And then the werewolf is going to be felted, so it's going to look totally different. But I wanted to show you all three techniques together. So that's it. This is going to be this head. This is me speeding through. Look how fast I'm working. There you go. And I'm checking it with the original. I thought I'd put some little white splatters on, but actually it didn't work that well. And then I got a big lump on the nose, so I ended up kind of like having to fix that. Yeah, but in most things that you make are fixable. So as you can see, I'm painting that white blob out. I was like, yeah, maybe this didn't work as well as I wanted to. I was trying to make it look a bit textured, like the original's quite textured. Okay, finished.